Um, Hello. I just recorded a previous video and the downloads weren't coming in as they should have been, and the reason why is because I wasn't listening. I wasn't listening to my spirit guides, to my intuition, you know. So, I'm all for, or we're here on this channel, we're all for truth seeking, right? So, I was doing the most mundane thing. I was, the way that I communicate with spirit is through copper, which conducts energy. So, you know, I'm doing my thing, you know, putting, you know, rearranging things on my little altar, and, you know, I have pennies for each, you know, for each stone, for each deity, and I was rearranging them, and then I had decided to put them underneath them, and as I was doing it, I got the most, like, I got hit with this big old download. It was like pennies. Remember the pennies at church, and I was wondering what they were for when I was little. Oh my goodness, I did not know what they were for. I was baffled because like, I remember I was walking to church, and, like, you know, I was walking down each aisle, and I noticed that, like, each chair had a penny taped to it. Oh my goodness, let me tell, these people are harvesting energy. Oh my gosh, oh my goodness, you guys, it's not a joke, it's not funny, it's not funny. Like, those people, if you're watching if you're watching this right now, I don't care if you're watching me. Hi, hello, I see you right there. Yeah, I know you're conducting energy, and I want you to know that that's not okay, that you're feeding people lies like this. But anyway, you know, I had seen pennies taped to the chairs, and I'm like, well, what are these for? Are these like offerings? Should I put these in the offering basket? No, these people are doing witchcraft. It's funny because, like, this is the same thing that they preach is wrong, you know, but at the same time, unknowingly, you know, I don't think anybody noticed the pennies but me. I don't think anybody noticed it but me. But yeah, it was a lot of they were harvesting energy. I didn't even know what they were for. That it was the most craziest thing. But yeah, it's been getting to the point where spirit has been demanding me to listen, basically. Oh my goodness. But yeah, it was the craziest thing. And then I guess, you know, they had enough energy harvested, and they left, and they retired or whatever. So, you know, that's nice. I feel like giving in to the truth is, you know, the most beneficial thing that you can really do. 444 on the timer. It's the most beneficial thing that you can do. And my whole, you know, my whole not my whole life, I guess, like I'd say around, yeah, when I was 16, which is the number of the Tower card in tarot. I was 16, and 16 is when I began to notice the pattern of me attracting a certain frequency that I didn't know I was attracting until I was around 17, and then I started to like really come into my full potential. But Spirit has a funny way of showing itself. If you watch my previous videos, you know that your guides can manifest themselves into the physical realm. So so for me, I wasn't necessarily catching on to what was happening so much in the physical that I needed to realize, like, you know, until it was imperative that I needed to listen. It was when they started manifesting themselves into the astral. Now, what this deity was doing was illuminating their truth and their intentions of who they are. For example, I remember I was in one of my dreams I was heading to an insurance office to cancel my insurance or whatever. And I went into this room, into like this room, and it was like full of like elevators or whatever. And the room was dark, and for some reason in this dream I was scared of the dark. Like, there was no light, so I'm just like, you know, trying to find, you know, a light switch, something, you know, the light switch isn't working or whatever. And I had someone with me in the dream, and who had taken me to the insurance office. But you know, I tried flipping on the light switch on and off, and then, you know, all of a sudden, like, one of the elevator doors opened and the lights turned on in the hallway, and there was like a man standing there. It was like it was so weird. It had like alcohol bottles in the background, and like there was like this, due to like some sort of kiosk or something, I don't know. It was like, it's like one of those host pew things when you enter a restaurant, and, you know, he just kind of like looked at me and then looked at the other person and was like, "You're not supposed to be here." And then that's when that person vanished. And you know, the person seemed really frustrated and they, you know, had no choice but to leave. You know, so, you know, I ended up doing what I needed to do in the dream or whatever, and then and that same person, their presence was now cut off from that elevator space. Like, they couldn't enter that space anymore, but they were able to skip out of, you know, they were able to skip that part. So, you know, we ended up back in the parking lot or whatever. We were sitting in the car, and, like, you know, I noticed there was like a bottle of alcohol in my bag, you know. And, you know, usually you're not supposed to consume anything in a dream, but for some reason it didn't feel didn't feel wrong. I had many dreams where like people have tried to feed me things or something like that, and I knew I was not supposed to eat it. So or you know, I wasn't supposed to, you know, order anything or something like that. But yeah, they, looking back now, are like, you know, I had interpreted it as like, you know, they call alcohol or liquor spirits, you know. So I knew that the person who had given it to me was trying to protect me. So this was a protective spirit that they were giving to me. So I decided, you know, I took a sip, and like, you know, and I looked at the person in the driver's seat, and they just kind of like looked at me, and they weren't really able to necessarily say anything. And you know, I'm over here, you know, I'm over here like, you know, the alcohol setting in. I'm all good, you know, I'm all, you know, I'm happy and whatnot, you know. I got some business done, you know, I get to relax now. So like, you know, and I guess this person told me, you know, I had to get out of the car. So because like it skipped to me being outside of the car, and I was just like, you know, dancing around in the park or whatever, and in the parking lot. And then you know, I guess they were trying to bring to my attention that there were people who are harvesting off of my negative energy. Me being in high spirits, it, you know, it triggered them, you know, it kind of triggered them and told them like, and was like, you know what, get out, you know, now I'm being casted out for being in my light and being who I am. And this person will not leave me alone. Like, oh my goodness. Like, and you know, that it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Anyone? Oh, pick me. Oh, I know, me.
Because like, you know, they're definitely like a ray of sunshine, especially, you know, like, you know, without the sun, we wouldn't have the plants that we have to eat, and you know, I wouldn't have my I wouldn't have my beautifully melanated skin, you know. You know, we need the sun for a lot of things, you know, and that light that comes out in the day when you're all alone at night, man. Because the gaslight isn't real, you know? And that's the shit that's toxic, that burns you up the most. The wound is the place where the light enters you. I believe that's by Rumi. I remember hearing it in A Wrinkle in Time, which is a really good movie. You should really watch that. It's most definitely true, because, you know, hurt people, you know, and, you know, it can illuminate where, you know, where both parties need to heal. And it can also mark, like, the mark of the beast, for example, a new shift, a new beginning that you're entering from that healing, you know. It doesn't mean that you have to become the beast and bleed on everybody you come in contact with or that you form a connection with, you know, because that's what the skin is for. It you know, it regenerates, and, you know, it helps us not do that. You know, the spirit guide shows up as like, you know, as like a lot of fire, which is, you know, what he is, you know, just a big ball of fire, you know, but he's also kind, and loving, which is why he's mostly he's been showing me Knight of Wands, but mostly King of Cups energy due to his ties to wine and alcohol in general. But ladies and gents, I would like you to meet Lucifer here. Yes, it's Lucifer. The devil embodies fear, or the devil embeds fear. So if you're screaming, "Oh my God," I just told you who the morning star is. The light in the day, you know? And it was funny. I remember this one meme I saw, or like this one quote I saw. It's like the sun is a star and it's out all day, but why does nobody wish on it? This story is one of someone, you know, who was cast out for being a dreamer. You know, he stood up to God and was like, hey, or, you know, that person who is a jealous God and says things like, oh, you know, you should worship no other God but me, you know, then why is there an acknowledgement of other gods anyway, you know? And Lucifer wanted to be one of those ascended masters and believed that he could be one. And he was, I guess he was kicked out in a way to say like, because, you know, God said, fine, you know, go do that then, you know, you know, but you can't do that here, you know. But people who wanted to step into their own power followed him. The sun came down to teach us these things, you know, so that we could rise and become one of these ascended masters. I advise you to call who you're submitting to what it is, and call who taught you who they are, you know. He hasn't done me any harm. He's done nothing but protect me and provide me with so much energy. Like, I had danced in the room for the first time, you know, since my stay here. As you can see, my practice is very, very open, you know, so there's no room for me to promote or to inflict any harm on anybody. The message for today is listen, like really listen, because I almost submitted the most scatterbrain video I've ever recorded. Oh my goodness, just from not listening. But yeah, subscribe for more, y'all, because you can only go up from here. Okay? I love you. Keep rising like the sun comes up in the morning.